Welcome to Continuing the Conversation, where we explore what authentic AI actually looks like in real life. I'm Chelene Martin, an AI strategist, parent of two teenagers, and someone deeply focused on helping humans how to think with AI and not hand over their thinking to it. So whether you're a student, a parent, a teacher, or a CEO, the question isn't should we use AI, it's how we use it. A few episodes ago, we talked about the copy and paste trap, how professionals quietly kill their credibility by using AI's first draft without contributing or thinking. But the thing that's been keeping me up at night is this. Our kids are doing exactly the same thing, and we're accidentally teaching them to be obsolete. I'm talking to parents whose kids are getting A's on essays they didn't really write, teachers spending more time playing AI detective than actually teaching, and students who think they're being clever by outsmarting the system when really they're outsmarting themselves out of a future. This isn't about being anti-AI. This is about raising humans who can actually think. I've got two kids navigating this in real time, so I've got a few thoughts that I'm going to share. And joining me today, as always, is Rob, the CEO of CharmIQ, who spends a lot of time thinking about how humans and AI should actually work together. So, Rob, let's talk about the illusion everyone's buying into. Let's start with the thing that's fooling everyone. Kids are getting better grades than ever. Parents are relieved, kids are happy, teachers see high performance on paper. So what's the big deal with that?
Wow. Yeah, we're seeing this all over the place. And this is whether this happens in the workforce or whether this happens with kids, is grades. If somebody else is doing your work, whether you're the bully and you've beaten somebody up to give you your homework assignments, or whether you're bullying your AI into giving you the answer, just because you get a good grade doesn't mean that you're learning anything. And, I've worked with a lot of teachers and everything else, and I get how hard it is to get individual instruction, to do individual assessment of students, given the fact that there are curricula that are per grade, you're looking for certain scores and it's standardized and all these other things. It's hard enough to just get through that without, again, the individualized assessment of each of those students. So I get that everyone's busy and it's really hard to do. And with that, just because they turn in a good assignment doesn't mean they actually understand the work.
Right.
So that's so important for both the educators and with students and parents. And what I'm really hoping for, and just to go a little aside here for a quick second, if there's a single thing we have to hope for out of this whole AI revolution, is that maybe it'll take enough work out of all of our lives such that we could all spend time and donate and dedicate some time to helping students and do individualized attention and do individualized instruction and so forth. But again, with the way that our school systems are set up, there's no way in heck that a single teacher with a room full of 30 students can go through each student individually and assess their abilities and so forth. So unfortunately, we use tests. And the moment that those tests go home and they come back written by, again, whether it's the bully or whether it's ChatGPT, if the students aren't doing the work, they're not learning.
Yeah, I think that that's something that we all struggle with, parents, teachers, the school board even, right? So I think that that's the biggest challenge that we're facing. I have two teenagers. I'm in the middle of this. And this is where it stops being theoretical for me. And so I wanted to kind of come here today and share some stuff I've seen at home in early AI days and where we're at now with my kids and with my kids' friends, right? All of my kids' friends are using AI, but there's a huge difference between kids who use AI to skip thinking and kids who use AI to work through thinking. And we didn't just start there, right? It was a gradual relationship, especially in my household. So these are my observations. So when AI is doing the thinking for them, and that's what happened early on, they couldn't explain what they turned in. They didn't remember how they got there. And the confidence wasn't real. So when they come to the conclusion with AI, they would say they would do the little bit of the work, right? So I lay down no rules because I could hear my son and he'd say, I have to write a paper on the outsiders. I need it to be 500 words and I need to pick a character to make the focus of my paper. And I was like, whoa, that's not how we start, right? You need to contribute. right? You need to come to your AI tutor, is what we call it in my house, and they have names. You have to come with the rough draft. You have to put in the work, right? And with my daughter, she used it a lot early days for math, but she always had to attempt to do the problem first. And what she could say is like, I don't get this part, or here's the problem, help me think through this, or can you help me understand this problem? Then you can actually hear the learning and how they're talking about the work. And that's when it clicked for me. And this is what the rule is now and has been for the last year or so. AI is allowed to help, but it's not allowed to replace you. And honestly, parents are confused. Schools send mixed messages. Some ban AI completely. Some pretend it doesn't exist. And meanwhile, kids are left to figure this out on their own. And the real conversations aren't happening at home. And it's not because parents don't care. It's because they don't know what to ask. And I think that's where the confusion is, right? I know for myself, I was confused 2 years ago when AI kind of made its way into learning during COVID. I know a lot of high school students jumped on that train early on, and kids went from being C students to straight A's, right? So, Rob, let's talk about what's actually happening to their brains when they skip that struggle part, that learning part.
Yeah, that is a fantastic thing. So on my personal anecdote side, I've always been a tutor. Like I spent my time in grade school, high school, college, especially in college as a tutor. And I found that I learn better by learning to teach. So whenever I learn something, I'm always trying to externalize it. So that's how I personally figured out how I don't care what my grades are, to be totally honest with me. It was rewarding for me to be able to help somebody else understand this subject. So that's my personal thing. And what I find a lot of challenging with students is they don't know why they're there. Their parents ship them off to this place that they spend 8 hours and they come home and they're given stuff to do and they do it. And I'll also say that I see that a lot in the students that are ejected then at the end of their career. I used to spend a lot of time getting first year students out of college and helping them learn. And basically they didn't know, they were just expecting the assignment and they would go do it. And they really didn't learn how to learn or learn what it was that the process is for. And I think that this is just another, I would say worse, another version of that thing, which is I just don't think people understand how to learn, what learning is for, and so forth. Because you'll always hear those questions. It's like, why did I learn algebra in or geometry in grade school or high school? And the answer is just simply learning logical reasoning steps. Can you take a set of postulates and turn those things around? You're probably never going to use it. Was that framed that way in school? No. You're just like, learn this thing, and you weren't taught like how to think. So like what is going on? What is the struggle? What are you trying to do? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn a skill that isn't like mechanical. It's not something you can see. I spent time watching metal workers. And so to me, that's a physical skill. You can see what is going on. But the problem with learning is that you cannot look at me and figure out what it is that I'm doing because I'm just sitting there. Right. So when I'm learning something, there's no externalization of what it is that I'm doing. So I think that we're at a deficit when we talk about like trying to understand non-physical learning. Because again, you can't look at somebody and do it. And normally people are really bad at it, especially the smart kids. The smart kids usually have no idea how it is that they do it because it just comes naturally to them. So the person to really talk to is a struggling student, and to talk to them about how it is, do they go from being a C student to a B student and so forth? Like, what is that exercise? What are the things that they do? And again, what baffles me is that we don't talk about these things. Like my parents never talked to me about, they always like made sure that my grades were doing well and things like that. But they never asked me like, what is the process thereby that I would come up with these things? And again, I think that's important. So getting back to what's the what, this thing that it is that we call learning, we don't really know what it is, but we know that it involves work. Just as if you're a blacksmith, you have to pick up that hammer and you have to hit enough steel till you can do the thing that it is that you're trying to do. And it's that exact same thing, but with in your head with mental problems of literal things like problem solving. Like, how do you solve problems? So I'll use a quick example here. A really fascinating thing happened when COVID hit. Me and my partner were looking for things to do because there was really nothing to do, and you can't just sit in front of the television all day. So my natural instinct was to get a bunch of different types of puzzles, like the escape room kind of puzzles, but you can get at home. And it was fascinating to me because my partner is an extremely intelligent individual, but she had no idea how to get unstuck. Once she looked at a problem, one of these puzzles, and she could not figure out a way to figure out how to get to an answer. Even though she knew there had to be an answer, she couldn't get unstuck. And it was frustrating for her, and it was fascinating for me because she's smart, but when she just simply could not back the truck up a little bit and like look for like, is there a different fork in the road? Once she got to the end of what she thought she could do, that was literally it. And her next phase was just literally just give up. And I use that example because I think a lot of kids have the same problem. They drive the truck down the road, they get to the end of the road, and they're like, there's the end of the road. Like, I don't know what else to do. They literally don't know the mental analogy of backing up a problem set. So that's what this is like literally when you're learning, like whether you're learning algebra or geometry or music or social studies, you're not trying to memorize facts. You're trying to learn how things fit together. And you're honestly trying to learn how the next thing that you learn is easier the next time. So if you learned about King George the First and now you're on King George the Second, it's like if you're still memorizing the same set of facts and you're not associating them to other things and so forth. And again, long story short is you're not going to get there by somebody just telling you what King George whatever did, right? Like you have to spend the time and stick it in your own brain and wiggle it around such that you eventually get to the next time. And again, that's what we're depriving these kids of. And I'm not saying AI is bad here. What I'm saying is by us not helping students learn how to learn with AI, that's what we're doing is like they just think that the answer is to get to the grade. Whereas again, the goal is to get to the end where you can be a self-sufficient, useful human being in a democratic society. That's the goal. So parents out there, like the goal you're shooting for is your child going to be okay when you leave them alone? Are they going to be able to figure out the instructions for the clothes dryer? Are they going to be able to, like, when something gets stuck and broken, are they going to know what to do? And like, that's what it is. And again, if they're just getting straight A's, great. But again, the second you leave school, that doesn't matter and no one cares.
Right. Yeah. And that's the part that scares me the most, right? It's not that not kids using AI, but kids getting really comfortable not struggling, right? Not learning, because the struggle is where the confidence comes from. And it's where you learn, I can figure this out, whether it's doing my own laundry, boiling water, right? Or getting an A or a B in advanced chemistry, right? If AI removes the friction completely, you just don't lose learning, you lose trust in your own thinking. And we see this, right? With adults too at work, right? This isn't just a kid problem. In my opinion, it's a human problem. So teachers are drowning right now. And I have friends that are teachers, and I'm friends with some of the teachers at my kids' school. And they're become AI detectors and cheating, all the cheating acquisitions and waivers and bans. And, teachers are overwhelmed. Not only do they have 30 plus kids in their class, but now they're like, watch out for the AI and make sure the essay was written and make sure they're not cheating. So what should they actually be doing?
Yeah, great question. So I always try to talk about like what the problem is. So let's like, what is the problem? The problem is like, teachers have a rough time. 30 kids in a room. You have to keep up with the, latest curriculum. It takes you a couple of years until you get your curriculum set. Things are coming down the pike and the rest of your institution is telling you have to learn these new things. And I'll just admit, as we get older, especially as we get out of practice, it's hard to learn new things. I always look at doctors as an example. Doctors have to be forced to learn the new set of techniques. Like if you're looking, not to pick on doctors here, but just to say, if your doctor's like at the end of their career, you can tell they're not learning new stuff. Like it's really hard to do all that and to stay current and so forth. Again, same thing is true in every field. I just pick on doctors a lot because we want to encourage our doctors to stay current on this stuff.
Yes, please.
A lot of things are changing. Back to teachers, there's so much workload that they have, not only for managing the students and like they have to try to help I was recently in the classroom a couple of years ago. I always try to help with science fair and things like that. And I came in early because I'm that guy. And I was listening to the lesson before mine, and they were actually going through how to detect cyberbullying. And I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. Like, bullying was easy when I was a kid. Like, if the kid comes in with a bloody nose, then like he was bullied, super easy. And it's usually the big kid that was the problem. Like, that's easy. But nowadays, kids are getting cyberbullied. And how do you detect? Like, as a student, how do you know when somebody is like grooming you for a situation and all this stuff? And I'm like, so not only do the teachers have AI to worry about, they have all these other things that none of us had to go through. Like, we didn't have to go through courses on like how to detect whether you're getting somebody's trying to spam you or somebody's trying to, again, groom you or sexually assault you or like that was the class I was in. So like, again, these are the things that our teachers are having to teach our kids. And now on top of that, this AI thing just came in and like, by the way, just after COVID, just after like trying to learn e-learning and dealing with the fact that the kids aren't there anymore, the teachers just got slapped in the face with this thing called AI. And now there's a whole new set of rules and regulations. So again, as always, don't attribute to malice that can be explained by normally ignorance, but I would just say in this case, overworkedness. Yes. So what do teachers need right now? Teachers need support. Try to help your local teachers. Don't go in there blaming them. Don't go in there faulting them. They just may not know. They just may be overwhelmed. They may have their own life's problems that they're dealing with while all of this is going on. So like, let's have open dialogue where teachers are not being judged and they're not being persecuted because of all this stuff. Because again, I don't think any of us know what the holy hell is going on. Like, looking in the workforce, we're still trying to figure out what the capabilities are, much less what's going on. And the teachers are like, I have to learn this new AI detection tool. And like, what can these things do? And how do I know if little Johnny's doing what he's supposed to be doing or not? So again, what teachers need is your support. Get in there and help. Participate in your classroom. Volunteer if you can in the classroom. Be part of the solution that helps them understand what's going on. If your teacher is like, no, we have to put an AI detector and you're against that, try to understand why that's going on. Help present other options. Work with other parents. Like, all of the usual things that work in life, which is like, sit down with people, listen to them, don't wait to talk, and answer rationally. Like, these are the things that teachers need right now.
Yeah. And I've seen, thankfully, I've seen a growth understanding of AI in school. And obviously my son's in high school, my daughter's in middle school. In high school, they treat A, they're two different districts, B, they're different levels of school. And in high school, it's really up to the teacher, right? It's like the teacher's code, it's the teacher's rules. And both my son and my daughter, after COVID, came home with papers that I had to sign saying, that I promised they wouldn't use AI. And if they use AI, it was like they would be suspended or get an F in the class, right? And then each year it's been progressively less and less kind of harsh. And now I'm seeing a transition where there are classes at the high school level that are working with students on not only how to work with AI, but what is AI? How are they trained? What are the models, right? And then at the middle school level, it is still teacher by teacher, but it's less harsh, right? They're making strides. So I still had to sign the waivers this year. They all still came home, but then I went home and I used AI with my kids anyway, right? That contradiction says everything. So we're not where we need to be, but we're making, I think the school districts are making progress in their acceptance of it. They're not just pretending it doesn't exist. They're saying, kids are going to use it. We might as well, help them or at least educate ourselves on the right way to do it. So we've talked a little bit about the teachers. So, but for parents listening.
Yes. And let's flip this around for a quick moment.
Yeah.
So Chelene, you always have a perfect way of explaining this. So how do you explain to your children? And we'll start with the children and then we'll go to the parents. Let's start with the parents. So you started with the parents. So how do you explain to other parents how you think about AI?
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, because I was learning it, and as I was learning it, I was like, oh, well, this isn't going away. I should learn it and then help them learn it. And I know some parents are like, well, I'm not confident in it. So here's my top level things of the things I learned. I no longer say like, did you use AI? Right? Because I know that they are, and I know that they're allowed to. Now, what I ask is, and I listen to them because, and you guys know this, I stop typing, start talking, right? Yeah. So I can hear my kids in each one of their study areas interacting with their AI tutors. So I know I can hear them asking questions and not just write me a 500-word essay on the outsiders. It's like, here's my draft. What did you think? Did I follow the directions? Am I missing anything? But I love that, when I talk to them about the problem they were trying to solve or the paper they were turning in, what was the hardest part? Where did AI help you think differently? I love this. Like, is there anything you disagreed with that came out of that conversation, and what surprised you the most? If they can talk through it, learning happened.
Yep.
Right? Because the AI is a tutor, because it's their thinking partner, the kids have to come with their contribution to the conversation, just like any good tutor. So if they can talk through it, learning happened. If they can't, and sometimes this happens with one of my kids, AI did too much. Also, if it's too quiet, right? AI did too much. So you don't need to understand the technology if you're a parent. You just need to stay curious about their thinking and how they're learning and how they're interacting. Look, for me, AI makes me a better, stronger, faster version of myself. Why would I want to rob my kids of that special superhuman power? As long as we're contributing, as long as we're partnering with the technology, then we're still learning. I use this technology every single day, hundreds of minutes a day, and I am learning something new every day about myself personally and professionally. Adults, think of it. AI is a thinking partner. Yes, it's technology. Instead of it being a homework machine, like, let it be that standard, right? It's a thinking partner and not a technology that's going to give you all of the answers. So that's my contribution.
That's awesome. And what I would say that you had in there that really resonated with me is, and we're going to talk about this in a couple of episodes on the business side of things, which is, I think 2026 is all about how can we use AI and know when we're off the rails? And you did it, which is you're establishing norms by which you know what's going on. You tell your children to talk, not necessarily type, and then you ask the probing questions afterward. And like that is 95% of what you need in the business space to do similar things with AI, which is like if you're just barking at orders, whether you type it or say it or whatever, like that's wrong. And what I would say on the flip side is, and sorry, I'm going on the business side, but I'm trying to go through the business side to reinforce the parent side, which is if you're using your ChatGPT in a business way and you're just saying like, give me this report, whatever. Imagine if you said that aloud in front of your boss. Like, right. Would you think that would demonstrate skill or usefulness or anything else? So again, I think Chelene is like spot on beyond belief here, which is do the talk. In the case of the business side, think about what it would be if it were in front of your boss. And in terms of kids, like make sure they're within earshot. Like if you're hearing just like write me this paper, like yep. Like be a parent, like get in there, get involved.
Yeah, so, and I think awesome. one thing that really helped with my son, especially because my daughter's a rule follower, right? She wants to learn, she loves learning. My son, he's in high school, pressure is on, grades mean everything. The weight of college is on his shoulders, and sometimes if he gets behind, he just needs to do the work quicker. But I said, look, like I get it. I went to high school too, believe it or not. We didn't have AI, we had Cliff Notes, right? And easier seems better and easier, but your brain is a muscle and you are in development. Your brain is growing every day. Your brain will continue to grow through your 20s. If you're not exercising that muscle, it will not grow. And your muscle will not grow if all of the answers are given to you. You need to contribute. No tutor's just going to sit there, hopefully, and do all the work for you. Right? You need to come with your first draft. You need to come with attempting to solve the problems. It's okay if you get an assignment and you feel really stuck, but that's a conversation that you need to have. Like, this is the assignment. Here's the work I've done so far. Here's where I'm stuck. I don't understand. Or, when he reads the book and he can't identify with any of the characters, help me find this interesting, right? Then it's a conversation and I hear both sides. So that always helps too.
Amazing as always, Chelene.
Yes. So I think that, before we kind of head off, I think that we need to teach kids and adults, just a reminder, AI is a thinking partner. It's not going to do the work for you. And for all the parents listening, and even teachers or principals or school board members, think about your own way and your own standards. So Rob, for you, is there any kind of things that maybe new standards or practices that we could recommend to teachers, principals, school board members that would help support AI as a thinking partner and a learning tool and not just cheating or a bad technology?
Yeah, I love your analogy of thinking of it like a tutor. Use it like you would use a tutor, whether that's you're in the workforce and you have an executive coach, or whether you're a student and it's a tutor, is that you don't ask your tutor to do the work for you. The tutor is there to help
Yeah.
support you and to help you learn things. So if you find yourself not using these things in that way, and I think those mental models are what's super important. Because if I had to wager a guess, is that people just don't know where to put AI in their brain. Like,
Yeah.
what is this thing? Like, how should I think about it? How do I use it? And again, I think your statement about think of it as a tutor, think of it as an executive coach.
Yeah.
If you engage with it that way, that's the right answer.
Yeah, especially in education, right? For parents, say, I want to introduce you to a new tutor. Also, parents, just FYI, you're going to save hundreds of dollars. Now, maybe you don't want to get rid of all your tutors, and that's fine. For me, once I saw it working, I got rid of all of them. And we had probably 4 or 5. And it saves me hundreds of dollars. So think of it as a tutor, and also have a conversation with your kids, test their knowledge, right? So if they're reading the book, maybe read it, or maybe you've read it, ask them questions about it. What kind of test them in your own way?
Or get this, use your thinking partner and say, hey, my son or daughter is reading this book. Like, what probing questions could I ask?
Right, to test their knowledge, just to make sure they're learning, right? And then also ask them the questions, what surprised you most when working with your tutor to work through these problems? I did hear my daughter the other day as she was working, science is like her biggest stumbling block right now. And she was questioning some of the answers and some of the things that she was working through with her tutor. And she's kind of pushing back and saying, well, I thought in my class, I can't remember the exact thing, but she was asking questions back to her AI tutor to get an understanding and learning and how they came up with that answer. And I just found it, I said, that's it. She's using it the right way.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to her. I said, I heard you working through your science quiz, because she does ask the tutors to make quizzes for her. Nice. to test her knowledge. And I think that's another way that kids forget to use these AI tutors, is like, if you have a test coming up and they'll create a test for you. Tell them the book and the chapter and the author and the version, and they will give you the best pre-test of your life that will probably help you ace that test. So that's just kind of my 2 cents there. I still have so many great learnings that I come across in this part of my life with my kids every day. So Rob, this conversation should make some people uncomfortable, but in the best way, right? And to students who might hear this someday, AI isn't the enemy. And I think you probably know that. It's an incredible thinking partner. But if you let it think for you, you're giving up the chance to build something far more valuable. Your ability to reason, which is important, to struggle, which is very important, and to explain yourself. And AI should make you think stronger and not quieter. And so parents, stop panicking about whether your kid is cheating or using AI, and start asking whether they're learning, right? So teachers, the old system is broken, and the question isn't how to stop students from using AI, it's how to teach them to use it well. The future belongs to humans who can think with AI, not humans who let AI think for them. This is something I'm so passionate about, something I practice every day. So links to CharmIQ and our previous conversations are below. Rob, thanks for helping us continue this conversation. It's an important one, and I have a feeling we'll come back to it. Maybe even have a special guest, a teacher or a student perhaps in the future. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.